Hello friends, it's so good to see you again today. I'm actually coming to you from my classroom at school today and doing my recording here. So I want to talk to you a little bit about water. So how many of you like to go swimming? I definitely do. Now, have you ever tried floating on the water? Where you lay on your back and you try to float. Have you ever tried that? Some of you are able to do it without a floaty or something helping you? It's a little tricky, but once you get the hang of it, it's pretty fun to do. Now, floating is something that's fun for us to do, and I have a little science experiment. I actually did this with my class last spring on a video, so I'm actually going to share with you that video. And I know you don't have the paper with you, but you can still make predictions and see which things you think will sink to the bottom of the water and which things you think will float at the top of the water. So watch this video and see if you can make some predictions of what you think will sink and what you think will float. All right, so we're going to work on this together and we're going to see if things sink or float. Does gravity drop it down or does the buoyancy help it to float? Okay, so I have here, I'm going to be doing this a little bit, some water. Now you are welcome to also try this at home, and you're welcome to do this at like in the tub. You can try different objects even than on here, but we have a few things that we want to try here. So there's this first section, it says prediction. That means your hypothesis, right? Your guess. Right, so a marble, do you think it'll sink or float? Now remember, it's a hypothesis, it doesn't have to be right, and if you get it wrong, there's okay. You don't even have to erase it, okay? Because there's a different one for the actual, what it actually does. All right, so a marble, I'm going to tell you it's pretty dense. So I'm going to put the marble in, and we'll see. It went right to the bottom, so it sinks. So in the actual, go ahead and mark sinks. This next one's a pattern block or Lego. If you don't have pattern blocks like this, Legos is fine. It's still made out of plastic. It's the same kind of material. So make your guess. Do you think it'll float or sink? So mark on your prediction what you think. And then let's go ahead and put it in. Oh, it sank to the bottom. All right, our next thing is a spoon. It's a plastic spoon is mine, which will make a difference. So if you use a metal spoon, yours might be a little different. So make your prediction, sink or float. Mark it on there. All right, let's put it on. It's floating at the top. Our first float, yay. All right, rubber band. Sink or float. What is your prediction? Mark your prediction. It is floating at the top too. Can you see it in there? Floating right up there. Okay, our next thing, toothpick. What's your guess? Sink or float? Mark your prediction. It is floating at the top. So float. All right, crayon. Sink or float, make your prediction. Dropped right down, sank right down at to the bottom. So mark sink. All right, penny. Make your prediction. It sank right down to the bottom too. Paper clip. And these are things you could definitely try at home too. Paper clip, what do you think? Make your prediction. It sank right to the bottom. I thought it might float, it was so light, but nope, it sank right down. All right, tin foil, just have a little bit of tin foil. Floating right up at the top. And our last thing, a die. That's what they call dice when there's just one of them, a die. All right, what's your guess on this? Float or sink? Let's try it out. Sank right to the bottom. Now, how did you do on that? Did you get some of them right? It's okay if you didn't get them all right. That's okay, right? We're just making guesses. So floating is fun to do, but have you ever tried to stand on the water or walk on the water? We can't do that, can we? Maybe we could stand if we're like water skiing and we have skis and we're going fast and the momentum's pulling us along with the boat. But just to stand on the water ourselves, we couldn't do that, could we? That would be impossible. It would be a miracle if we could do that. Well, in the story today, Jesus can do it. Jesus does that exact miracle. He walks on the water. How amazing is that? So, and then Peter, his disciple, he invites him, come out with me. And Peter walks on the water for a few seconds. Then he starts getting afraid and he takes his eyes off Jesus and he starts sinking into the water, because we could only do that miracle if we're focused on Jesus and he's helping us, right? Once we start worrying or focusing on other things, then he starts sinking down, and we would too. But it's pretty amazing that Peter could even do it just for a little bit with Jesus' help. But here's the story of that. So go ahead and watch a little video of this, and then we'll talk about it afterwards.
Stories of the Bible. Peter walks on water. This is Peter.
Hey-o! Whoop!
Peter was a fisherman who was called by Jesus.
Hey!
Peter saw the many miracles of Jesus.
Whoa!
And he heard all his teachings. Great crowds followed Jesus wherever he went. One day after Jesus had done a great miracle, he sent the disciples in a boat across the lake while he stayed and sent the people home.
See ya! Hey, Jesus!
After sending them home, Jesus went up into the hills by himself to pray. Meanwhile, the disciples were in trouble far away from land, for a strong wind had risen, and they were fighting heavy waves.
Ah!
About 3 o'clock in the morning, Jesus came toward them, walking on water. When the disciples saw him walking on the water, they were terrified.
Ah!
In their fear, they cried out, "It's a ghost!"
Hold on there.
But Jesus spoke to them at once. "Don't be afraid," he said. "Take courage. I am here." Then Peter called to him, "Lord, if it's really you, tell me to come to you walking on the water." So Jesus said, "Yes, come." So Peter went over the side of the boat.
Whoa! You're awesome!
And walked on the water toward Jesus. But when he saw the strong wind and the waves, he was terrified and began to sink.
Peter, help me!
"Save me, Lord!" he shouted. Jesus immediately reached out and grabbed him. Jesus said, "You have so little faith. Why did you doubt me?" When they climbed back into the boat, the wind stopped. Then the disciples worshipped him and said, "You really are the Son of God."
How cool was that, right? Jesus actually walked on the water. And we could too, Peter could, if we focused our eyes on Jesus and kept our eyes on Jesus and focused on him and not worry about other things. Now, one of the reasons I think that Jesus did this is to show that God, Jesus was God, God in the person form, God has control of all things, even the weather, even nature, even the water. God has control of. God is so amazing and powerful. So that's what I want you to remember this week, how you serve an amazing and powerful God. And with his help, we can do anything. It's pretty amazing. So have fun this week. Go out and serve your amazing, powerful, awesome God. Bye.